Hey guys, what's up? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new episode of HAIKYU to the Top, which is on episode 15. Now, this episode right here was actually pretty fun, and it looks like to me Karasuno seems to be standing their ground against one of the freaking crazy top schools that's most likely to be favored and loved. But that aside, let's just get this started. We have to it that the Osamu twins or Miya twins do their quick attack, and it looks like to me it seems a little intimidating, because it looks like to me they seem to be doing that weird quick that's like similar to Kageyama and Hinata's own attack, And we get to know that the Miya twins do have a little like nasty history with each other because the blondie chick. Not blondie chick. The blondie guy ends up having to do a lot of things that upsets his brother, But that aside, we get to see we get to see everyone having to do their own abilities kind of thing, while they do make their own kinds of attacks here and there, etc., and they do make their own kinds of blocks, eventually the score will be about 12-10, the way how it's shown to at the beginning, almost at the beginning of the episode, and it looks like to me they're not far away, but eventually the Miya twins do start doing the quick attacks again, and they end up getting a point higher, which later on turns into a 14-11, But eventually, some people were analyzing Hinata Shoyo for what he is, if he has a depression or something, but not exactly, He doesn't have a face that looks like it's depressed, but he seems really irritated or angry, But whatever the case may be, when Hinata Shoyo and Kageyama do lose their cool a bit, the coach does decide to tell him that, hey, don't lose your cool, okay? It's not very good to do that. But Kageyama's like, hey, I'm fine, man. This guy needs to be told what's up, Of course, the coach will later on analyze Kageyama, seeing how, the old Kageyama probably would try to do everything on his own, because of the way how he does things. We all know in Season 1 that he's been always like that kind of crazy king of the court kind of guy, And eventually, Suki himself, he will later on make the block on the Miya twins' quick attack or volleyball attack, And they end up saying, oh, wow, that's pretty slick here and there. And as long as you get used to the enemies quick, it's pretty crazy. Of course, the coaches end up talking to each other, Karasuno coaches. They say either Aone from Date Tech or Inoka from Nekoma, who stopped Hinata's quick attack plenty of times. And every time he sees it on a daily basis, he must really hate it. And that's Tsukishima. I guess he's seen too many of the quick attacks so many times, it really irritates him. He just wants to stop it, And we have to it that Ryukun, our future ace of Karasuno, he has a lot of energy, as some people were talking smack about him. And it looks like to me we have to it that Kanoka, which is Ryu-chan's childhood friend, ends up saying, hey, you better watch your mouth or I'll get my hands on here, that kind of thing. But eventually, it looks like to me one team will get a point while the other team gets another point, so it's not too much of a big gap, but eventually the Inarazaki decides to call a timeout kind of thing, And the coach decides to tell Hinata, I want you to keep an eye on one of the twins, I want you to do that right now, so in case something else should happen. I need you to be like Inuaka, that kind of thing from Nekoma. And we have to it that we get to see an attack from Tsukishima, or Suki, Of course, Kageyama ends up setting a ball way too high, but it's enough for them to actually get through the blocks, which is really crazy. Even right now, one of our twin antagonists, which is Miya Atsumu, he pretty much says, it's not been so long since Kageyama, been at the youth training camp. So what's happened to him, And we get to know that our boy Kinoshita Hisashi ends up making Kinoshita Hisashi ends up having to make a serve of his own, And eventually it starts to work out, He was nervous at first because he doesn't get to play often and he never been part of crazy stuff, And we get to see that Hinata makes a block on one of the Miya twins, and he ends up saying, all right, now we're looking good, that kind of thing. But people say it must have just been luck, and they end up tying with each other 18-18. And of course, when Kageyama tells Hinata, I bet you just got lucky, man, nothing more. And we have to it that the Mia twins do the same attack twice in a row, knowing that irritates them, And of course, like when it came to like blocking here and there, because the ball's over the net, etc. Hinata tries to get the ball to the other side, but unfortunately gets overpowered by Mia Osamu, the one of the Mia twins. And of course, like the guy ends up telling Hinata, "I guess you're not as tough as you were, huh?" And Hinata gets really ticked off about that, Of course, Tsukishima and Hinata does have a little quarrel with each other, where Tsukishima always says something in a nasty insult kind of manner. But that aside, we have to it that, of course, I think Karasuno makes another scoring point again, but unfortunately, after that, we have to it that the Mia twins are actually freaking arguing with each other, It's like saying, "Hey, can you start doing your job?" He goes like, "What are you talking about? I am doing my job, blah, blah, blah." It's like Hinata and Kageyama or Tsukishima arguing with each other kind of thing, Etc. And we have to it that Hinata ends up having to have some kind of strange, like, premise about who the heck annoyed the heck out of him in terms of the block, like in terms of blocking. Eventually, Hinata will later on make a block on Mia Osamu, like to a point where he decides to do a line shot where Nishinoriya, our guardian deity of Karasuno, will later on get the ball, etc. And they end up making a crazy score, making a crazy score around, that kind of thing. But that aside, all I know is I could tell you that's a little confusing. Yeah, sorry. What I'm trying to say is Hinata gets Mia Osamu to do a line shot. Like, he ends up blocking his cross shot, etc. And later on, they manage to pick it up and score right back at them, And of course, they end up having to call a timeout because they are now tied. They are now tied with like with Inarazaki again, It's 2020 now. But that aside, we have to it that some coaches or someone who's like, analyzing the situation says that Karasuno does a lot of crazy tricks, but the question is, what can they do once they use all their tricks up, But that aside, we have to it that, like, our ace of Karasuno ends up making an attack that seems to be a little small feint whatsoever, and later on becomes like 22-22. I mean, Inarazaki will later on make a crazy serve. Will later on will make an attack, etc. But that aside, they still go tie to tie, Eventually, Hinata would look like he's ready to serve, But we have to that Yamaguchi takes over, and of course he gets a little he gets a little nervous and insulted because of the people booing at him, But his coach, who taught him how to do a jump floater serve, ends up having to throw a freaking funny bag and tell him this word, And Karasuno takes the lead with that kind of serve, with the jump floater serve, like 23-22, and later on they make another, and Yamaguchi takes another serve, And the episode ends off there, which really sucks, and it gets me upset. But whatever, I'll take whatever I can get. Anyways, pretty nice, slick episode. Looking forward to the next one, hopefully, and next episode is called Broken Heart or something. I don't know if it's gonna affect both teams, but we're about to find out. Because Yamaguchi, he does this jump floater serve against the ace, which is like Oiran, I think. His name's Oiran, right? Yeah, Oiran. But yeah. Okay, sorry for being a little like cringy and off-putting, but yeah. All I can really tell you overall without a lot of details in this episode is that Karasuno are doing crazy tricks that allows them to at least catch up with Inarazaki. But there's only so much they can do before they run out of tricks. And, Inarazaki, the twins, they're being troublesome as always, in terms of like Mia Atsumu serves, and then, the way how they do the quick attacks, and then reading the situation of their predictable attacks, but later on, adapting and getting used to it, is what Hinata is what he's doing, Eventually, the blocks and everything else was just based on luck that people would be saying in this episode. But, despite him being a little cringy like how I am nowadays, he's making improvement at least. I mean, he's not going to be some like simple blocker and then just like attack all the time. But yeah, looking forward to next episode, and hopefully it comes good. So until then, people, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Alfazero. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time. Right? Peace out. Bye bye. Toot toot.